Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Find Your Treasures. I'm Kate, and today in this message you're going to understand why I'm holding a bunch of grapes here. We're going to go through a technique that I call the imaginary story. It's a really great tool that will help you connect with your children, especially if you are struggling to connect with them and maybe you're stressed and exhausted from being at work, or you're just navigating the chaos in the world, you don't know how to connect. Then this technique is going to help you. It's going to help you feel connected. Your children are going to feel calm and centered, and you're going to get to share some of the great adventures you've had as a child. So let's dive in. So it's called the imaginary story, and basically you're going to share a story of a time in your life when you were little. It might have been when you went on a holiday, it might have been something you loved doing at home, maybe you got a pet, maybe you moved into a new house, maybe you met a new friend. There will be so many examples you can draw from, and you might be thinking, oh, I'm no good at telling stories. I can't tell a story. I don't know how to do it. And that's why I'm going to share with you, after I describe how to say one, I'm going to share with you one of mine so you can see how simple and easy it is to do. But first, the reason why this is so valuable to help you feel connected to your children is because of two things. One, the sound of your voice. So at the end of their day, they would just love hearing you. They'd love hearing the sound of your voice. You probably don't realise it. You might not think you have a nice voice, but the sound of a parent's voice for a child is really soothing and comforting. Just to listen to mum and dad talk, especially at the end of the day, maybe it's bedtime and you're telling them this imaginary story, they're going to feel calm and connected and centered just from listening to you. And secondly, they are going to find out some of your stories. So they're going to love this. This is where they get to discover who you were as a child. And by imagining you in these stories as a little kid, they're going to connect with you on the level of, say, an inner child level. So they're going to get to know who you were as a child, hear some of your adventures and your stories, and they're going to absolutely love it. So in the imaginary story, you're going to share a story from a time when you were little. And one of the great ways to get the children involved in the telling of the story is that they get to choose what age you were. So it starts like this: once upon a time, but not very long ago, when I was... and then they'll call out the number. So they will say 4 or 6 or 8 or 10. And so you'll get to cast your mind back and think of what you were doing when you were about 6 or 7 or 8, whatever the age was. And it might seem difficult. You might think, I won't remember what I was doing. But trust me, I think when you actually start to kind of remember how old you were, then you'll have lots of stories coming to your mind. And the reason that this is called an imaginary story is it doesn't actually matter if you were 9 or you were 7. Your children are going to get the gist of that you were a child and you had this adventure. So once I call out the number of how old you were, then you cast your mind back, you remember something that you were doing at the time, and you start telling the story. And if you have brothers and sisters, you might get to include them in them. And I know my children love hearing the stories when my 2 brothers and sister feature in it. I give them their nicknames, Benny, Chucky and Moggy, and it's another great way for our children to start to connect with their greater family. And especially if you all don't live near each other or you don't see each other often, it could be family that live overseas. This is a great way for your children to feel connected to their greater family. So now you're ready to tell the story, and I am going to share with you one of our favourite imaginary stories, and you'll understand why I'm holding a bunch of grapes at the start of this video, because this story is known in our family as the grape and snake story. I've told it many times to my children. They can recite this one by themselves. In time, as you're telling your children your imaginary stories, they'll get to know who you were as a child, and they'll start to be able to tell those stories, and it will shape who they are. Because once they've heard that mum and dad, say we're having fun or being courageous and brave, having these adventures, they can really envisage that for themselves. So it's really inspiring as well. So here it goes. Once upon a time, but not very long ago, I was 6. Benny was 8, Chucky was 4, and Moggy was 2. And my children love to say those numbers in sequence: 2, 4, 6, 8. And we were allowed to go outside. Mum was inside washing the dishes, and Benny and Chucky and I all went outside around the backside of our house where we had a beautiful grapevine growing. And this is on the farm where I grew up in Dumbleyung. And we sat down and we decided that we were going to have our own grape picnic. So we picked some bunches of grapes from the vine, and we were sitting there, we had a little blanket, and we thought, well, very grown up, having our grape picnic around the side of the house. And Then after a little while, my eldest brother Ben decided he was going to go to the toilet and do a bushwee. So he went out to the front garden where there's some grass and he was doing a bushwee. And as he was doing that, next thing you know, a big dugite, a snake, had come slithering through onto the front grass and had raised up and was actually had its head raised. And Ben screamed and he came running back and told my sister Chucky and I that there was a snake. So we were screaming our heads off and we ran all the way around to the front of the house, and Benny ran first because he was eldest and I ran second. And as I got to the door, Nanny was standing there, which is my mum, with Moggy on her hip, and she said, "Oh no, where's Chucky?" My little sister. And we all looked back and there came little Chucky running along. She had a nappy on and she was running to the door, and Nanny was going, quick, get in the house. And we were saying, there's a snake, and we were having a great picnic. And then Nanny, which is my mum, did the funniest thing. She put us all in her bedroom and made us sit on the bed where we were safe, and then she shut the door and she went outside where the snake was, and we watched through the bedroom curtains to see what she was doing. And we had a Volvo at the time, a blue Volvo, and she climbed up on the roof of the Volvo and she had a broomstick and she was waving it at the snake, which we thought was very funny. And then she ended up coming back into the house. She couldn't get the snake, and she called my Nana, who lived across the road, and asked her to come and kill the snake. And Nana said no, she wasn't coming over to kill the snake. And that's the end of the story. So you can see that this is just a fun, light-hearted, beautiful story, a recollection I have of a bit of an adventure that I was having when I was little. And in telling this story, I love that my children get to imagine who I was at the time, the sorts of adventures we had growing up on the farm, and they can relate to that, and they feel that real sense of connection to me, and they just love hearing a beautiful story at bedtime, so we all feel connected. So even if you've had the most stressed out, busy day, you could have been working in a really, involved corporate world, or you could have been, navigating some of the chaos that's going on outside. This imaginary story technique is a really simple way for you to come home, to switch off from that chaos, to come into your right creative brain, to recall one of your favourite memories or your adventures. And this could be at any age, so you can tell your children stories about when you're little, but I also love telling my children stories about when I was older and having adventures working as a geologist in Canada. So as you start going, they can pick different ages, or you could even say, let me tell you about a time when I was 21 and have an adventure then. So it's a wonderful way to share parts of your life for them to feel connected and to really inspire and uplift them. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your comments below what you thought about the grape and snake picnic, and I hope if my brothers and sister are watching this, they didn't mind me sharing that story. And I would love to hear from you if you really like the imaginary story technique of connecting with your children, and if you have any other questions on ways that you want, if you're struggling to connect with your kids, if you have any questions, share them in the comments below. Okay, thanks, bye.